That's my big loser. In particular, Carson Wentz, a man with a $100 million contract who was a healthy scratch the last weekend of the season. And I hope he was watching what Deshaun Watson did yesterday. How about Matthew Stafford out there with a variety of injuries playing a meaningless game at the end of the season? But you know why? Because to football players, these games aren't meaningless. This isn't the NBA where they have load management. It isn't baseball where they shut down the starters at the end of the season. Your football team played a game yesterday. You get paid $100 million. I don't care how sad you are that they've benched you, which you richly deserved. You should have been out there with your team yesterday. But of course, all the steam was taken from that, as I'd like to bring the group in on the conversation, because it was going to be Carson Wentz, and then candidly, the entire organization disgraced itself with the way they handle it going forward. So how in the world do we sum this thing up? Well, actually, I have Schefter. So let's start with that. The story that you and Mort had early in the day yesterday about the relationship between Wentz and Doug Pederson, that kind of started the day on that tone.
Well, Chris Mortensen reported that there's a fractured relationship there with Doug Pederson and Carson Wentz that is, in Mort's reporting, beyond repair. Now, we'll see where that goes during the offseason, but I think a lot of people around the league believe that it's ultimately going to lead to Carson Wentz being traded out of Philadelphia and the Eagles handing their starting job to Jalen Hurts, with Carson Wentz moving on to a situation that he desires more than the one in Philadelphia. Now, he's been quiet about this. It's not like he's gone out and publicly pouted. That's the job of reporters. That's what Mort did here. He found out what the situation is behind the scenes. Carson Wentz is not to be blamed there, in my mind. That's basically Mort reporting what he knows. And what he knows is Carson Wentz is going to want out. That's the basic facts of the situation. And so the Eagles now will be left to figure out what's best for their franchise going forward, whether they're ready and prepared to hand off their job to Jalen Hurts, which is why it was a little surprising not to leave him in a game that's on prime time against a division rival to see what he's like in that type of environment, which they didn't do. They turned it over to Nate Sudfeld at that point in time and essentially handed the division title to the WFT at that point. So we'll see how they handle it, but clearly there are a host of issues to address in what was an ugly season in Philadelphia, in which they were the only team in the division that had a returning coach that had an advantage in a COVID season where there were no off-season programs and the work was done virtually, and they couldn't take advantage of it and ended a season where players fought and battled the way that the Eagles did last night.
It was a terrible look all the way around. And so, Dan Orlovsky, let me come to you. How would you describe the way they handled last night, pulling Jalen Hurts as they did in that fourth quarter to get Nate Sudfeld some snaps? How would you describe that?
I thought it was a mockery. You know, like, I get it. I get what the move does when it comes to your pick going from 9 to 6. I get all that. But you could have just said, you know what, Nate Sudfeld, you're going to start the whole game. Or Nate Sudfeld, you're going to start the whole second half. That's our plan. We want to see you get reps. But in the moment, that's what makes it look so bad. Like, it's a 3-point game. If you're down 14 and you make the move, cool. If you're up 10 and you make the move, it makes a lot more sense. But in the moment, you're going, wait, how can you be doing this? How did you ask me to practice and prepare and get ready to play a game and then do this? Like, why did we do all that? Why is Slay still in the game and Ertz still in the game? So the situation of the game is what makes it so interesting or odd to me. Greeny, I would say this about the Wentz situation, because I know Schefter said that Carson hasn't come out and said, like, anything about the report. That's what's interesting to me, because if that was said about me, like if the report was said that I didn't get along with somebody, I would want to come out and say that that's not true, that those reports aren't accurate, especially in an era of social media, right? I can make a quick Twitter post or Instagram post like, hey, there's a lot of being said about me. That's not true. Until you hear it from my mouth, don't believe it. And the fact that he hasn't done that leads me to believe that Schefter and Mort's reports are accurate. And I think the reality is this: trust takes years to build. It takes seconds to break and forever to repair. And I have said for 4 weeks now that I don't think that could happen in Philly.
RC, how about the Jalen Hurts of it all last night?
I mean, that's tough for Jalen Hurts, right? Like, you're playing on a team where a coach predetermines, because a guy has been here for 4 years, he deserves to play like it's senior night. That's not the way the NFL works. And the way that Jalen Hurts is trying to show that I'm a franchise guy, I'm a dude that you can move forward with. doesn't give him that opportunity. We talk about this with Tua Tagovailoa, but at least he was being replaced by Ryan Fitzpatrick, a guy who could win the game. This turned into watching the Denver Broncos offense weeks ago when everybody in their quarterback room was under COVID protocol. This was a bad look. This was a bad move. And now you go into the offseason, to me, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, with more questions about your quarterback position than you could have had if you let Jalen Hurts finish that game. Maybe you get some answers about who your quarterback of the future was, and now you don't. And so not only was it a disgrace, not only did you not play the game to win, but you actually put your organization in a worse spot than it was before the game started.
Rex, final thought.
Yeah, I think it raises questions on whether Doug Pederson will be here now. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, I think he's a heck of a football coach, but it was a horrible moment for him when he did it. And as a fan of the NFL, I mean, I was mortified by what I saw. I thought it was ridiculous. And I mean, you're right. Washington won that game. The minute you put Sudfeld in the game, it was. I don't want to say the word I was going to use.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.